Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Business at its Best. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm joining you remotely today from my home, which is going to serve as a meaningful reminder to us all that we're 2 years out from the start of the pandemic, but hey, we still need it sometime, and that's the beauty of remote work, right?
That's right, Kinsey. And I'm Tina, your co host, holding down the fort at the office. 2 years into this new normal, and remote work is still a hot topic among employers. Some are eager to get everybody back in the office, while others are finding it increasingly valuable, especially in situations like this week when you're quarantining, Kinsey.
Absolutely, Tina. It's incredible how remote work has remained at the forefront of workplace discussions. It's kind of like this pendulum swinging back and forth between traditional office setups and people still embracing remote work for good reason.
Yeah, it really is. Especially considering we've shared several articles between the two of us, and different companies are looking at it in different ways. Some are still fully embracing remote work and or a hybrid setup, while others are really, really pushing for employees to come back to the office. It's like you said, like a pendulum swinging back and forth.
Yeah, Tina, it's clear that remote work has become a defining factor for many businesses. Some have fully embraced it and realized that there are cost savings and happier employees, and others, well, I guess keeping sick people out of the office like me. Um, Others are navigating these challenges in maintaining team cohesion and adapting to those changing dynamics.
Yeah, and really what I got a lot of out of these articles was the culture really drives this, and also collaboration. They're finding sometimes that it's harder to create that culture when people are not actually physically together, and that sense of collaboration between team members, just by you can't just do it always over a Zoom meeting to have that feeling of your culture and the feeling of collaboration. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree. I think that it's true. Yes, I think Zoom has been so important and revolutionary for its time. 2 years ago, I never once thought about, oh, let's do a meeting. We were doing FaceTime for everything, but now like we've been able to really get into Zoom, really get into Google Meets, Teamworks, all those different platforms. And honestly, Tina, I got tired of those during the height of the pandemic. You can't do everything on those. People get tired of getting on meetings. And I feel like in an effort to force that collaboration, force that cohesion, people started overusing Zoom. There were meetings for everything, more meetings than when we were personally in the office.
Yeah, and it really, I think meetings in general, some people are like, they really love this. I know we talked about this in our first podcast about introverts and extroverts. Some people
Uh-huh.
really get into meetings and that physicalness of being together and collaborating, but yet other people balk at having meetings and see sometimes that they could be a waste of time. And that's what one article said, bringing people back into the office. One thing they do strive for, or yearn for, I should say, is that focus time, that concentration time. And, some of these companies were saying you come back in and we're going to give you at least 50% focus time. So, not Zoom meetings like when they were at home, or not actually
Uh-huh.
physical face to face meetings when they're back in the office.
Tina, I am a fan of focus time. I sometimes will put that even on my calendar to schedule focus time, whether I'm at home or whether I'm in the office. I have to put it on my calendar to force me to get some of those things done. I 100% think that that's important, whether you're in the office or not. But I think sometimes, even thinking back to previous positions, I was more distracted in the office because you constantly had people that were coming to your office or wanting to think tank this with you or just stopping by to say, hey, I was able to really hone down and hunker down and get things done at home. I was more productive. I was quicker at getting tasks completed. I really enjoyed remote work. I'm team remote work or hybrid.
And it's kind of funny this week, and I have missed you being in the office, but at the same time, I have been way more focused, and that that just, I guess, says something
I'm a
about my
distraction.
no, my distractibility. I think it's going to happen when you're just around a person that you enjoy having conversations with. That these past few days, I've actually been able to focus more, and plus, I've kept my door closed. I know there's some germs going around, so I've been trying to kind of stay in my spot, and that has helped me to get a lot of work done. And
Awesome.
remote work allows people to design their work days around their lives, whether that means spending more time with family, avoiding long commutes, or managing unexpected situations like your current quarantine. It's about finding that sweet spot between work and personal life.
You are right on, Tina. But we can't ignore the challenges that come along with like long-term remote work, setting boundaries, avoiding burnout, and maintaining that sense of connection that we were talking about with the team. Those are critical aspects to address.
Most definitely. And I know that both you and I have had that ability to work remotely and talking about the work life balance. It's funny because I actually worked remotely for 6 years. Way back in 2000, I had a boss that let me work from home. My work was totally online. I was posting jobs for a career services office, and it was very appealing to me because at that time I was homeschooling my children, and they were at the age where they could, pretty much take care of themselves, but I could also take breaks and help them if they needed it, or I could do my work at night after they'd already gone to sleep. And it really provided just an incredible ability to help my kids, do their school, get my work done, and also, maintain the home, being at home. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I definitely think that your boss was cutting edge to be doing that in the early 2000s. So I'm looking at you as a trendsetter. Remote work for me, I was working for a marketing firm not long ago and I had just had my baby. And so it allowed me to nurse um, and pump. I was able to do those things that are important to some mothers. I was able to do that, go check on my baby, even though the baby was with a nanny. Whenever I wanted to see her or sneak a snuggle, I was able to do those things and then get right back to work. So I felt like I wasn't missing out on any of that valuable time with my newborn, and I was still getting to do something that I loved by being a working mom. So I felt like it just really gave me the best of both worlds. I had the flexibility to be involved with my son, teaching him the things that I felt like he needed to know prior to kindergarten, being able to take a walk around the block with my newborn daughter. Like just those things were really important to me. And also being able, like you said, to keep house and make sure dinner was cooked by the
Mhm.
time my husband got home so that we weren't, literally having pizza every night. Some of those things that we struggle with are time.
Yes.
And I felt like I had more time when I was solely remote. There was so much time in the day.
Yes, I would agree with that. And it's funny because I had been a teacher prior to that. And, I'd go see some of my teacher friends and they'd say, well, what do you do all day? It's, when you're at work, you have this to do list, everything's very structured. And home life at the time was not as structured, but I did value the gift of being able to work remotely. But in looking at it from an employer's side, that requires a lot of trust. Just knowing that your staff member is actually going to get the work done and not just be at home goofing off. It's a level of trust, and it's also knowing that I think one of the articles said it's not about how the race is done, but that you actually get to the finish line. And so knowing that you have these tasks to do and knowing that you're the kind of employee that is going to get the work done no matter what it takes while you are in a home setting really makes a difference to an employer.
100%. I think that you've got to know your employees, but more important than employers knowing their employees have to know themselves. Now, sometimes we all have those days where we kind of goof off or don't get as much done. But if you are not a person who is wired to work independently, then remote work might not be for you. I think it's much like kind of on the campus here at Western. Our MBA program is 100% online. Now, some people might not excel in online courses, even though it's for the working professional. Some people need in person classes.
Mhm.
And so, if they're not going to get the work done, then they might need to enroll in a program who is going to suit that need. Employees might need to work on a schedule that suits their need. If they need that hand holding, collaboration, need the daily check ins, and maybe not say hand holding, but need the daily check-ins, need that accountability. They may be more suited for in-person work.
Right. And, we've talked about different personality types as far as introversion and extroversion goes too, but also people's working nature, just like you're saying. Some people need to have that close proximity and need to be more directed by someone else as opposed to being directed by their inner drive. One of the articles mentioned that they felt like a work environment was similar to an orchestra, that it does require a very good leader that has a good vision, and the team
Hmm.
has to work together in their own strengths and weaknesses. Like an oboe player can't be the same as a violin player. They are going to take different realms of their training and discipline to create a symphonic sound that is pleasing to everybody. It's very similar to an office situation.
I really like that. When remote work first started, I think probably back in, I think I went remote March of 2020. It was kind of scary, and I didn't know what to expect because I felt so wired to be around people. That was what I was used to, and I didn't know anything else. So I can remember sitting on the phone every day with a coworker because she was similar to the same. We were stuck at home with our kids. Life was new. We weren't allowed to go out anywhere. You were scared of COVID because you didn't know what was going to happen. And we would literally put our phones on speakerphone, plug up our computers, and we wouldn't get on Zoom. We just needed the sound of another adult
Mhm.
voice. And we would literally work. We would just work and know that we were somewhat near one another.
Right.
And we got so many things done just by collaborating that way. We were so quick, ideas were flowing. It was the ideal symphony, if you will. We were just able to really just kind of no distraction, bounce these ideas back and forth. And we came up with some really, really great stuff for our employer.
That's excellent. We were in a very different situation at the time. My husband and I were running a cafe, coffee shop, and we had to do everything we could to stay open so we could pay our employees, but we had to
Hmm.
change our strategy. We had to go, our state mandated that everything had to be takeout for a while, so we had to redo some of that structure. We honed our staff down to 4 and kept paying our part-time employees for a while as long as we could, but we had them not come back to work, so they were remote. It was really a different time for us because while everybody else in the workforce appeared as if they were going remote and working from home, we had to, along with other restaurants and essential workers, had to stay open, but had to do it in a very different kind of way. You just have to manage your strategies and keep everybody safe. And, that whole experience during especially the beginning of the pandemic was different for different kind of working situations.
I think it definitely depends on the business. You have to know your business to know whether, a remote, hybrid, or fully in person workforce is going to work for you. Tina, it seems like a hybrid model is emerging as the likely future where companies can offer flexibility, but also value in-person collaboration when it's needed. So I think it's about striking that balance, much like remote work itself.
Very much so. Technology continues to play a significant role in enabling remote work. I saw, several in an article this week from the Washington Post where companies like Zoom, Amazon, and the Facebook parent company Meta have actually been requiring their employees to come back to the office at least twice a week, if not 3 days. And that's quite a different story from what they were saying in the past 2 years.
Yeah, I've seen that. Even with tools like video conferencing, project management software, we've started using Airtable
Mhm.
and collaboration platforms. I think people just really want to know what everybody's getting done. I think they want to make sure that productivity isn't waning. I think people maybe have gotten a little lax at home, and it's unfortunate for the majority that the few maybe have been getting lax. But I honestly, to me, that's what it seems like that requirement is coming from,
Yes.
because I just really couldn't see a company saying, if everybody is doing so much more and so much better at home, I couldn't see them saying, okay, everybody needs to come back just for the sake of seeing your beautiful faces.
Well, and it's almost like trying to make a blanket rule that's covering everybody, whereas everybody might not need that blanket rule. If you're thriving in your home work environment and you're producing great work for the company, you're plugging into those team meetings online, why should you be, this is in air quotes, why should you be punished by having to come into the office when, you're doing your share? I can see where it can get confusing for employees about why these requirements are coming about now. Job postings at the current time, only 8% of them are posted for totally remote jobs, which is down from about 10% a year ago. So there's really not that many
Wow.
jobs out there that are totally remote. And I think the hybrid situation that we are seeing is becoming more popular.
Tina, let me ask you what you think about this. I read this statement this week that by allowing remote work, employers are able to tap into a limitless job pool. What do you think about that?
That's very interesting. There's some people that cannot, for whatever reason, go into a job. Let's look at people that may have some disabilities where it's absolutely essential that they are able to work from home. Some people that may be going through some mental health situations where an office environment would not be a good place for them for their mental health. I can see where tapping into that would give you more access to more employees if you looked at all those different situations.
That's an awesome way to think about it. I think that communication just remains paramount, Tina. Keeping the lines of communication open, setting clear expectations, and maintaining human connection are key ways to thriving in a remote work situation, even 2 years down the line. I think that we've just literally got to communicate. I'm all about the communication.
Yes, and there's so many facets to communication now. People use Slack. They're on Zoom, like we said, for meetings when you can't actually physically get together. There's all sorts of communication tools. Of course, we have our phones, and I love that example you had with you and your coworker where you just had your phone on and you knew she was there even while you're getting your work done. And, even if it's just communicating with the coworker, that's great, but also being able to communicate with your supervisor or the people that are in a meeting and you can all get together, whatever tool or technology that you need to use, which there are more and more available, as time goes on, to get the job done and be the best that you can be for your office. I think it's a great thing.
Well, I definitely appreciate you and Dana checking in on me this week while I've been out of the office. I've gotten texts, I've gotten emails from you and everybody from Gordon Ford, and I just really appreciate you guys working with me as I've been remote, making sure that I still feel like I'm part of the team, and I can't wait to be back in the office.
Well, we're eager for you to get back, Kinsey, and we are hoping and praying that you heal up quickly. So let's conclude today's episode and thank all of you for joining us on this journey through the evolving landscape of remote work. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more insightful discussions on the world of business. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.